Okay, I am here on part two of this art meditation. If you haven't already, you might want to put some music on for yourself, set out your candles. Forgot to mention that in the first video, but I really love setting the environment around me, making what I like to call a sacred space, because I consider this a meditation. So I used that fluorescent pink, and it's really light and really lovely, quite like it. But for this layer I need something a little bit darker. Excuse me. In my opinion, I would like something darker right now. And white. So because I put that gesso on, the page is got this grit to it, more than usual. Got a nice sound to it. Do a bit of writing right now. Taking a drink too. I'm writing self-acceptance. Sometimes it's better to put writing on the very first. Actually, it's always best to put this type of writing on the first layer, but it's okay. It just goes on easier. If you do it on top of some paints, it doesn't take as well. Some paints it'll write right on top of easily, and some not so much. So okay, and then I'm gonna put some water on these. blow dry. So I'm gonna get some paper. So I'm going to try not to think too much about this. And I'm going to keep momentum here. Keeping momentum by not thinking too much about this, and just going with what I feel here. So I'm going to use my card. Plastic card. Just scrape this and get this as flat as possible by pulling the glue from underneath to the outer edges. And then painting over the top of it also with this gel medium. I'm using matte gel medium. You could also use Mod Podge or regular Elmer's glue. You might water down the Elmer's glue a little bit. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to talk about what I'm feeling here. I am feeling what I would call, feels a little bit of sadness, because I had started a project recently and then kind of realized it was coming from a place in me that I no longer care to create from, which is a place of non-acceptance. And this came to me at a really weird time, like in the middle of this project that I'm planning to go forward with, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, this just doesn't feel right for some reason. It's not about who I'm working with or, you know, where it's at or what anyone involved or anything. It just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like a 10 feeling. I just feel kind of blah. And this has been happening to me like a lot. Almost pretty much every time I plan a class that's a public class that I work with, that happens to me also. I get really pumped up about it. I go, I follow through with it. the class is lovely and wonderful, and then afterwards it just hits me like that was very beautiful, and I'm glad I did it and I learned a lot from it. But is that completely like what I actually want from my classes? And so far it's always been a no. I just haven't figured out what I want from my public classes, unless I don't need to do a public class right now, which that would make sense. And so that's why I'm working on more videos, and I think they're really fun. So I don't know what I'm doing here. I just know that I want to express all of these feelings that are inside of me, and I want to tell myself how much I accept you. Amy, I accept you, even when you don't understand why I don't accept you. And all that you're doing is not in vain. You are really good at learning from what you think are your failures, and they're not. And you keep going, and you keep speaking, and you think you have a small voice, but you don't. Your voice is big. So that's what I want out of this. I would like to express that here. And we're getting close to ending this segment, this part 2. So I'm just gonna add some white. You know, I love my white. I love blending out certain areas that are kind of like overpowering, or blending in edges of papers. Or I love the way it looks kind of foggy and dreamy. So there's my alarm. So I'm going to continue just adding a little bit of white. And turn it around. And that's going to be it for this portion. This is part 2, and I will see you guys in part 3. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe.